guys, today I wanted to do a little bit of a video, or an entire video, not just a little bit of a video, on groups of 5. So if you want to see what I have to say about where you can stay if you have a family of 5, then keep watching. Okay, so I have a lot of clients who are looking for quotes to go to Disney as a group or family of 5, and they are not aware of what their options are as far as where to stay. A group of 5, generally speaking, cannot fit legally in a standard value resort room. This is where the biggest issue comes in. Now, if you have 4 or less, you can fit in any resort category, save for if you are like booking a king room. Obviously that's not gonna work. You're not gonna have 4 people in a king bed. But the standard rooms have 2 queen beds, value moderate resorts, all that. You can have at least 4 people in those rooms. Now, all resort categories have the maximum number of adults. You can have, now when they'll say, if you look at on the Disney website, if it says that a room holds 4 adults, that means 4 people ages 3 and up for the sake of just the room. Now you can have an additional person under the age of 3, so an infant, 1 or 2. So if you have 4 people plus another person that is 3 or older, what are your options? So if you're going as a group of 5, what are your options? For value resorts, if you want to stay at a value resort and you want to stay in one room, you can get a family suite at All Star Music, which will be your cheapest option of the value resorts, or you can get a family suite at Art of Animation. That is going to be the most expensive option, and that will likely be more expensive than a standard value resort room that holds 5 people, if you have 5 people specifically, because a suite is a lot bigger. Okay, so back to value resorts. So you can all fit in one room at All Star Music in a family suite or Art of Animation in a family suite. Your other options, and likely the least expensive option on Disney property, likely, not necessarily always, would be to get 2 standard value resort rooms. So here's the caveat to that. The only way you are guaranteed to have 2 connecting or adjoining rooms is if you have too many kids to fit in one room and you don't have enough adults. So for example, if you have 4 children between, that are all ages 3 or older and 1 adult, they're not going to split you up, because, legally you can't do that. You have to have an adult in every room. However, if you have 2 parents and 3 kids, you do not have to be together, connected, because you can have 1 parent in each room. Obviously, that's not ideal, and we would request that you be together, and Disney would try their best to put you together, or at least next to each other, but you have to know in advance that that is not absolutely 100% required, because you do have enough adults to split up between the 2 rooms and have a guardian or adult between all of the kids. Okay, so something a lot of people don't consider is getting a standard moderate resort room. Now, again, just going off the top of my head, I'm gonna say this is probably a little bit more expensive than 2 value resort rooms, or very close, depending on how much you're paying in the time of year, or pretty close to that price. You would have less space for 1 standard moderate resort room as opposed to 2 standard value resort rooms, but the hotel is going to be nicer. Now, in terms of room size, 1 standard value resort room is smaller than 1 standard moderate resort room, which is smaller than 1 standard deluxe resort room. So as you go up in resort category from value to moderate to deluxe, you also get more space, just more square footage in the room. So you can have 5 people in standard rooms at Caribbean Beach, Port Orleans Riverside, as, okay, let me think how to explain this. So they have 2 queen beds, but then they also have a pull-down bed. And that pull-down bed is good for a child ages 9 and under. So if you have 4 adults and a 16-year-old, that's really not gonna be a good option for you, because unless the 16-year-old is like the size of a 5-year-old, they're not gonna fit on that. It's a bunk size pull-down bed. It's very little. So like I said, for the average 9-year-old or smaller. But if you have somebody that is of the size of an average 9-year-old or smaller, that's a good option. Now, Coronado Springs does have an option. It is their, let's see, it's their executive suite, but it's very expensive. That holds up to like 8 adults, and that's very expensive. So I have never booked that for any clients before. That's not really, in terms of cost, that's not going to be your best option, ever. You can also stay in a cabin at Disney's Fort Wilderness Campground, and that actually holds up to 6. So those are your options for 5 people at a moderate resort. Now, several of the deluxe resort standard rooms also can hold 5. And those are the Grand Floridian, Polynesian Village, Contemporary, Boardwalk Inn, Beach Club, and Yacht Club. Now, Animal Kingdom Lodge and Wilderness Lodge do have an option for 5, but they are club level suites or deluxe rooms, so those are gonna be way more expensive as well. But the other deluxes that I just mentioned hold 5 people in a regular room because they have a pull-out couch as well. But if you're looking at a standard value resort room, you have the 2 beds and that's it. You don't have a pull-out couch. You don't have any other sleeping thing to put another person in. Now, when they say you can have an additional person under the age of 3, I think they're presuming that they would be in a crib and that you could request to have a crib brought up. That would be very crowded in a value resort room because there is not a lot of room. So thinking about that too, would you even if it was possible, like legally, if they would allow you to, and they don't due to, fire codes and things like that, you can't have that many people in a room, would you want to? You wouldn't be able to move. It would just be so crowded. But yes, those are your options. So if you want to go for the least expensive option, it will likely be to have 2 value resort rooms. And like I said, if you did that, unless it's one adult traveling with a bunch of kids, you would have to accept the fact that there is a chance you will not get your requested adjoining, connecting rooms or even rooms next to each other. They might be in completely different buildings. You would have to be okay with that. Otherwise, I would look into a family suite at All Star Music or a standard room at one of the moderates, provided your 5th person is between the ages of 3 and 9 and could sleep on that pull-down bed. So hopefully that makes sense. I know that's something that is very confusing to people. What are my options as a family of 5? And I think, or a group of 5, I should say. It's not necessarily one single family. Could be friends or whatever traveling together. I think I'll also do another video maybe next week if I have time. I don't know if I'll have time. But at some point, I think I'll do another video on a group of 6 and where to stay, because that is another one that we get quite a few, or I should say that I get quite a few questions on, where people are really not sure what your options are. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention that I didn't mention in here is that deluxe villas can also hold 5 people in one villa, but that is not going to be your least expensive option. Deluxe, it's going to be, they're some of the most expensive rooms on property. So if you're willing to pay that, for sure look into it. They're very nice. I'm not at all saying they're not worth it, but Disney World is expensive, and when you are adding more people to your trip, it's getting more expensive. So in that case, I know a lot of people are looking at the value and moderate categories. So those are your options. I think those are the most common options that I can think of for a group of 5 traveling to Disney World. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. I know I kind of rambled on and it's kind of all over the place, but hopefully you got the gist of it. And thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.